Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm going to start this video off with Mr. Intuitive, who is the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, and he sent me this video. Turns out that BitBoy was on Fox Business, and he's talking XRP. Let me make sure there's not more than one section. Here we go.
Ripple, what's the story there?
I believe Ripple will be the most explosive coin in the next few months. As soon as the SEC lawsuit is over, all of my sources are saying that we will get a settlement between Ripple and the SEC, and this will lead to a huge price explosion, as basically Ripple will no longer, or XRP will no longer be considered a security, and all of the suppression that happened on the first half of this bull run due to the lawsuit will be over, and we will get a true explosion for XRP.
All right, that's how we like to leave it, on a real hot note.
A true explosion. All right, and he's right. It's been held back more than any other coin. Now today the U.S. Treasury came out with some news. This is from Gold Telegraph. Breaking news: a U.S. Treasury Department-led regulatory body has called for Congress to regulate issuers of stablecoins like banks and urged financial agencies to assess whether the role of stablecoins in the country's payment system pose a systemic risk. Surprise, gear up. So I think that this is part of what Gary Gensler was sent there for, is to deal with this. But more than anything, Gary Gensler was sent to deal with these exchanges. And I've always said, I believe that what his job is they're going to pick which of these upstart crypto exchanges get to live and which get to die. And guess who's going to be the guy that lets them know whether they're going to be allowed to be registered with the SEC or not? First, listen to this. And I also believe there will be people that go to jail. I'm not going to say any names, but I have names that I'm thinking of. I'm not talking about any of these that are named here. I'm just saying, I think that there will be people that have run these exchanges around the world that will go to jail. Listen to what he says.
They're rife for scam and fraud. None of them are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission at this point in time. And as I said, 95% of the market goes here. So this is the reported monthly trading volume. Crypto Compare puts up a monthly chart. It's not hard to find. This is the reported volume. And I'm going to tell you, ignore it. Most of it's not real. This is from Bitwise's application a few weeks ago. You'll see Binance, 110 million a day is about 3 billion a month. And if you went back a chart, these are all like 10 and 15 billion a month. They just make up their numbers. They just make it up. Because it's good marketing and it doesn't... nobody's been sent to jail yet.
Nobody's been sent to jail yet.
And even here in the U.S., many of the exchanges, even on this page, Poloniex is run by and owned by a company here in Boston called Circle.
Remember when Circle? I think they. It seems like they sold Poloniex and it went off to Malta. Okay, and Circle, is backed by Goldman Sachs. I think they knew a long time ago what's coming.
There you go, Jeremy O'Lear and Sean Newell. But Coinbase, Poloniex, Gemini, Kraken are all U.S. They're not registered with the SEC either, and they probably should be. So right now we're living in a world where there's both regulatory uncertainty.
Wait a minute. There's regulatory uncertainty. That's not what he told Congress. He said everything's very clear. You see what we're dealing with here? But make no mistake, exchanges, if you're listening to my voice, Gary Gensler's coming for you. He wants to call pretty much everything securities. And then once he does that, he's coming. They're coming for the exchanges, and they're going to say, oh, you don't have a securities license? And then guess where all the money from this great wealth transfer is going to go? Oh, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, they're all going to raise their hand and say, well, we have a securities license, and we just happen to have, we've just set up our crypto custody. Or, well, I think they're going to raise their hand, and I think that there's a handful of companies behind the scenes that have already set up their custody, and I think that you're going to see it real time happen. Okay, so that's what you're dealing with.
And regulatory forbearance, which is not.
Anyway, Gary's coming. Now, this is a great video post from Bank XRP right here. Bank of America. This is an interview with Barbara Weiss, and I guess she's with Bank of America. Listen to this.
Thanks, Richard. And over to you, Barbara. 1 minute, last question.
1 minute. Okay. Well, there are 56 real-time rails globally, right? But it's difficult to connect the payments from one clearing system to another. So the challenge for truly interoperable cross-border payments is developing the most efficient ways to connect these networks, to move money seamlessly in real time. I know that, there are a lot of problems with time zones and local currency controls and banking infrastructure, like, batch processing. And I know SWIFT is trying to work to connect these real-time rails using SWIFT Instant. But I will say in the time that I have left that a major competitor to SWIFT is Ripple. Ripple is using RippleNet. It's using distributed ledger technology to solve correspondent banking challenges. And, their technology offers bidirectional messaging in the payment system and actually, it can answer questions about the legitimacy of funds and the correctness of any information. So, the banks that participate in RippleNet are able to exchange bilateral payment instructions in real time and enter payments into local real-time rails, leveraging bilateral arrangements. So I'm seeing that there's different, competing schemes, right? It just illustrates how DLT is changing the payments landscape, which may obviate the need for SWIFT's instant transaction management capabilities.
Thank you, Barbara.
How about them apples, folks? All right, wanted to show a couple of things. First, David Schwartz had tweeted this out. Wrapped XRP is coming to Ethereum. Great news for those that want to access XRP within Ethereum wallets, DeFi, and smart contracts. It's a multi-chain world, after all. I think that some guys in the venture capital working group would have liked it another way. But I think Ripple is going to come out of this smelling like a rose. Now, this is interesting. Some interesting stuff on Gary Gensler. Must-watch video. Gary Gensler, 1 month before the Hinman speech, he's speaking in Paris. Now, I think we've shown parts of this before. He bashes Ripple and praises Ethereum. Brooklyn Project is a part of this also. This is the OECD workshop, and Gary Gensler was there. And I'm pretty sure we've shown this. This is Consensus and the Brooklyn Project. And then as we go down, you'll see this is what it was. This is the full link video. You can go and pull this up on YouTube. Tokens Ripple is a company that has the third largest market capitalization. And then he did a whole presentation. But anyway, all right, moving along. Now, Brad Combs from Digital Perspectives had put this video together. I wanted to show you this.
What are these initial coin offerings?
This is
attributes
from that same thing. Watch.
So what are these initial coin offerings? They have attributes of both investment and consumption. You will hear a term called utility token. But again, I would say do not mistake yourselves. A utility token can also be an investment scheme. It's not one or the other. And I think proponents of not regulating this space are trying to set up a false debate. Again, I think they're trying to set up a false debate. If it's a utility token or a consumption token, then don't worry, public sector, you don't have to regulate.
So I was charged with trying to figure out a very simple thing. Raise money and not go to prison. Head of the SEC, a gentleman by the name of Joe Grunfest, if anybody's familiar with the SEC, he's probably the most prolific chairman of the SEC of the last 75 years. And sheepishly the next morning said, I said, after our third drink last night, we came up with this concept, and I said we, because I didn't want to say me, and I said, can we say this is a good, because it actually forms some kind of function if you have to send it and you have to use this gas to send it? And I said, I'm sure it doesn't work. Right, okay, that's fine. And I got a pause for about 10 seconds, ready to say that was the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And his response was, that's brilliant. And said, I think that could actually work. He spoke to some folks at the SEC. They loved the idea. They thought that actually made a lot of sense. And that's the genesis of what's called today. Has everybody heard of what a utility coin is?
I tell you what, you can't make this stuff up. Now, back to Rosalind Layton's Forbes article. I keep going back to this because I feel like she brings up things in these articles for a reason. And so I'm usually paying close attention to the words she uses. SEC Chair's war on crypto is about his resume. And then she's the one that brought up this JoeEdo guy. And I'm not going to talk about the part that I don't talk about on this channel. But this thread was from this Clayton Hinman Facts. I saw them mention this even before her article. Gary Gensler's connection to crypto. JoeEdo, who recruited Gensler to MIT and led the Media Lab, was disgraced and forced out in 2019 in a huge scandal. Why aren't we talking about this? Well, I'll talk about some of it. Here's a video I put together. This is the clips with Gary Gensler's from 4/27/18, and then JoeEdo. Both of them are with this Neha Narula. All of them were colleagues at MIT at the time. So here we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm here today. My name is Neha Narula, and I'm the director of the Digital Currency Initiative here at the MIT Media Lab. And I am here with Gary Gensler, who is a senior advisor to the MIT Media Lab and a senior lecturer at Sloan, former chairman of the CFTC.
And I'm JoeEdo, the director of the MIT Media Lab.
Exactly, right. But the point is they were doing the right thing.
Can we get to a clear framework so that people
good
can do
actors.
this
Yes.
in a cost-effective manner without having to hire a fleet of lawyers to try and figure it out?
I think that you're correct that there is a cost to build trust in the system, and those costs are more readily borne by the big actors. But $6.5 billion was raised in the first quarter through what's called initial coin offerings. One firm alone, Telegram, raised $1.7 billion. So I think that there's room to maneuver, that the $2 million raise is different than a $50 million or $250 million raise.
So I think it's, I think this ICO thing, so I do think it's bad. I think there's a lot of scamminess just looking at the people who are getting scammed and so on. So I do think in the short run, it's bad. But a lot of stuff starts out bad. So I think in the long run, it's possible that we figure out a structure where it doesn't necessarily have to be externally regulated, but at least self-regulated in a way that that's harder to scam. I think it needs to become more scam resistant. It has to make it so that people can't. I think you want to take the speculation out of it and figure out a way for things like ICOs to actually be valuable in the operation of something useful. Right. But I don't think that's what's happening.
I think the onus is on, I agree. Right now, if you're doing an ICO, I'm immediately kind of suspicious. And I think the onus is on you to prove that there's a good reason for your token existing and how that interacts with what you're building, for sure.
Okay. So that's that. Now I wanted to show you, I don't think I'm going to play this video, but actually I'll play a little bit of it. This is JoeEdo. This is from June 15th, 2018, the day after the Bill Hinman speech.
The problem is we're creating a system where people can pump and dump, or they can speculate. And the minute you can speculate, you're going to attract speculators, right? Who are basically people who are making money off of suckers. So you're also attracting the suckers. So anything where you're intentionally attracting suckers, well, why would you do this? Well, because you also want to be a scammer. I mean, I think you kind of have to be everyone who's issuing an ICO needs to sit down and meditate and say, why am I doing this, right? If it's really for making society better, then you should try to figure out every possible way that you can't make money unfairly. and that no one else can make money unfairly. So maybe that's making sure that the thing cannot be transferred back to money, so that there's no such thing as an exchange, or somehow peg it to the dollar so that there's no volatility. And once you create the perfect token, whether it's a token for carbon credits or it's a token for access to your network, but if you can design out a way for you to steal money or take cookies from the cookie jar illegally or unfairly, then you're pushing away the people who are going to make you look like an asshole later. And we're technologists, we should be able to do that. But instead what we're doing is we're always thinking about, this whole point is to raise money as a startup, and you've unintentionally, and a lot of people I think are very self-righteous. They say, well, but the thing I'm building is this open source software, so it's okay if I steal money because I'm trying to do the right thing. But that's what everybody says, right? And that's how everybody starts down the slippery slope. And the whole point of cryptocurrencies and all these other things is to try to use technology to prevent people from doing bad things. But the minute you start thinking, I want to get into personal things, but I remember somebody saying, well, I hate how the right wing buy the media and use the media to tell other stories, so I'm going to go buy a newspaper so I can tell left wing stories. I mean, it's just this weird thing that somehow we think that we're...
Okay, I just wanted to show you kind of some of his thoughts on that. Now, one thing that's interesting about this JoeEdo guy is that you can't find much. But this is the sprint from July 30th, 2019, spring recap of MIT's digital currency initiative. And as you go down, it starts telling you a lot of the things that they did over the course of the year. And as we go down, you'll start to see names. There's Gary Gensler talking about Libra. As we go down, you can see that this is Neha Narula, and she is going to the Andreessen Horowitz Regulatory Summit. That's the same Andreessen Horowitz who led the Venture Capital Working Group, which got Ethereum the free pass, by the way. Then you go, if you look, if we keep going, you'll see she also did, I'm trying to see if I can remember where it was. She was on 60 Minutes, which... that's here if you want to watch that. Watch this.
Excites me about cryptocurrencies is that we can experiment with the transfer of value.
This is from May 19th, 2019.
We can put new features into money. We can change the way money works.
She says cryptocurrency has already helped people in countries like Venezuela, where the monetary system is in crisis. And in the future, it may be able to do things like speed up and lower the cost of worldwide money transfers.
People used to say, why do we need email? I can just call someone on the phone. And now we can't live without it.
So this is one of those conversations that 20 years from now, someone could replay and have a good laugh because I'm asking such moronic questions that will be so obvious to everybody.
Or they'll be laughing at me because I said cryptocurrencies were going to be a thing and they totally flamed out and died. The thing that excites me about cryptocurrency...
she'll be proven right on that. But let's go back to this because there's a couple of things in here that I want to make sure I showed. I'm missing it right here, but there's a paper, some kind of paper that I think that she wrote with this JoeEdo guy. And if I can see, I'm looking here. There it is right here. Neha, this person, and JoeEdo are co-teaching crypto ethics class, okay? Which is kind of ironic because he just basically left in a scandal. But they've taken down the crypto ethics class, or it's just not, or the link's dead, and they may not have taken it down. Okay, the reason I wanted to go through that a little bit is for a couple of reasons. One is I don't think that Rosalind Layton just threw that out there for no reason. And plus what I find interesting is that this guy was one of the top guys and Gary Gensler was too. So there's got to be more there. And I think it would be interesting to look because I'm telling you, this MIT Media Lab had an agenda and I just want to make sure, that's why I'm looking. I want to make sure that the agenda because the other thing Rosalind Layton said in that Forbes article was that Gary Gensler was sent there And part of the purpose of him being there was to try to turn him into this authority on cryptocurrency. And she said he had no background in any of it before. And once they sent him there and let him stay there for a year or two, then all of a sudden they could paint him as this authority, then send him to the SEC, and he would have credibility to do some of these things he's doing, like suing Ripple and keeping it going like he's doing now. For that reason, I see a lot of smoke here. And what do we do when we see smoke is we start digging. And so that's what we'll be doing. And I have a feeling that this smoke turns into fire. Let me finish this by telling you all, reminding you, link to these guys. I mean, they must have had a lot of Ripple that they added on here, because I know it sold out and they added some more, and I think it did it again. Anyway, they've got a little bit more on the platform. I think they're almost out. I haven't checked in the last few minutes or whatever, but anyway. So go check it out, linqto.com. They're one of my sponsors. I'm a customer. I buy private equity on this platform myself. I've bought Ripple. I've bought Uphold. I've bought Link2, Kraken. I'm sticking with the blockchain names for now, but you ought to look into these others too. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that it's not just about picks. It's also about shovels and picks.